Hello, my dear students. Welcome into the first lecture on molecular phosphorescence spectroscopy. In previous lecture, we have completed molecular fluorescence. So, we have started second topic from unit 3rd optical methods, that is molecular fluorescence and phosphorescence spectroscopy. Into this second topic, today we are going to start second subtopic from this chapter, that is phosphorimetry. Okay, so first of all we will see what is the definition of the phosphorescence. Okay, so phosphorimetry, it is second subtopic, definition of the phosphorescence. If the time elapsed between the absorption and re-emission of radiation becomes more than 10 raised to minus 8 seconds, it is called as phosphorescence. Okay, so that means the time is going on between absorption of radiation of particular sample molecule and re-emission of radiation of that sample molecule becomes more than 10 raised to minus 8 second. The process is called as what? The phosphorescence. And as explained previously, phosphorescence is delayed fluorescence. That means for the fluorescence it requires less time as compared to the phosphorescence, in which the substance involved continues to emit light even after the light source is cut off. That means when we cut off the radiation source, okay, then it will emit the phosphorescence. That means the sample molecule emit the phosphorescence radiation. That is, the lifetime of phosphorescence is much larger as compared to the fluorescence. The frequency of the emitted radiation is less than that of the exciting radiations. In the case study of phosphorescence also exhibit fluorescence. Therefore, any instrument which is used to study phosphorescence must able to distinguish between the two. That means all of you know the fluorescence required 10 raised to minus 8 second less timing, but phosphorescence required more than 10 raised to minus 8 second timing. Okay, that must distinguish the instrument, okay, while measuring the or study the phosphorescence. Now we will see the instrumentation of the phosphorimetry. First we will see the working of the phosphorimeter. So the block diagram and schematic diagram I will show later. First we will see the working theoretical part. Radiation from the xenon lamp that are passed through a monochromator 1, which allows only UV light to pass through it. That means in phosphorimeter the radiation source is xenon lamp, which is emit the UV as well as visible light. Okay, that light will be false on the monochromator 1. At that time monochromator 1 or the filter, we can say filter, that will be absorb visible light and pass only UV light through it. The radiation then fall on the experimental substance through a rotating shutter which surrounds the sample holder. See, actually this sample solution will be kept into the sample holder, or you can say sample cell, that will be kept into the particular rotating shutter, or you can say phosphorescope, that I will show later. The shutter has slots on it and is driven by variable speed motor. That means the entry shutter and exit shutter have slots. Okay, in between this phosphorescope is there. Into the phosphorescope can the sample cell is there, and the sample solution will be kept. Okay, the slots are such that the sample is alternatively illuminated and darkened. That means when the entry shutter and exit shutter is open, at that time the phosphorescope can will be rotating with the help of speed motor. But when entry shutter is open, then the exit shutter will be closed, and entry shutter is closed, at that time exit shutter will be open. When it is dark, that means shutter closed, first shutter or entry shutter is closed, the phosphorescent beam is allowed to go to the phosphorescent monochromator 2, placed at the right angles to the incident exciting radiations. That means first shutter, that means entry shutter will close. At that time the UV light already going inside into the sample cell. The sample cell having sample solution, sample molecule absorb that UV light, okay, and emit phosphorescent beam or phosphorescent light that will be reaches up to the monochromator number 2. Okay, that will be kept at right angle to the incident exciting radiations. So I will show the block diagram or and schematic diagram of the phosphorimeter. But before that, from the monochromator 2, the radiation is made incident onto a photomultiplier tube, and the current generated is recorded as a measure of the luminescence intensity. Okay, that means monochromator 2 will be absorb the UV light, that is the main light which is coming from the radiation source, that also present along with the phosphorescent beam or the phosphorescent light, that will be absorbed and only pass the phosphorescent beam or light which is coming from only sample molecule. Okay, and the detector will be detect that phosphorescent beam or the light. The mechanical device which execute this simultaneous step is called a phosphorescope. That means entire whole assembly of this sample solution will be kept into the phosphorescope. When the shutter is open, incident fluorescent radiation cannot enter the photodetector. See, first shutter when closed, then second shutter will be open, then the incident fluorescent radiation cannot enter into the photodetector. That will be because it require a very low, or we can say less timing. Okay, but phosphorescent light require more time. That will be, see, when the shutter is closed, it will cannot reach up to the photodetector. When the shutter is closed, phosphorescent radiation reaches the photomultiplier tube and is recorded. Okay. Therefore, the phosphorescope measures phosphorescence in the presence of fluorescence. That means the detector will be measure both. Sorry, phosphorescope measure both phosphorescence or we can say fluorescence. To increase the changes of phosphorescence being exhibited, the sample is cooled in liquid nitrogen. That means the sample solution will be kept into the Dewar flask along with liquid nitrogen to maintain the desired temperature of the sample solution. This is because phosphorescence is not readily observed at room temperature but is observed at low temperatures in solidified samples. See, that means when we study the phosphorescence of particular sample solution, the sample solution must kept into the low temperature. Okay, because at room temperature it cannot show the phosphorescence, so we have to kept into the war flask along with the liquid nitrogen. So now I will show the schematic diagram of the phosphorimeter. Okay, so this is the schematic diagram of phosphorimeter, all of you know. Okay, and this will be the block diagram of the phosphorimeter. See this one. So we will see one by one in detail. This is the schematic diagram. Just we have seen working of that one. So this is the xenon lamp. Okay, okay, it will emit the UV light. Okay, other light will absorb by this monochromator. Instead of monochromator, we can keep here filter also. It will absorb other lights and only pass the UV light. That UV light will be coming from this lamp, will be reaches up to the sample cell through this entry shutter. Here actually the entry shutter is there. Okay, and when it will moving or rotating continuously, then the rotating or entry shutter will be closed. Then the sample solution absorb the UV light and emit phosphorescent beam, and that will be going through this exit shutter and reach up to this monochromator number 2, that will absorb UV light which is coming, maybe coming along with the phosphorescent light or beam, and only pass the phosphorescent light which is emitted by sample and reaches up to the this PMT, that is photomultiplier tube, or you can say detector. Detector will detect that light. So this is the simple schematic diagram of the phosphorimeter. Now we will see the block diagram of the phosphorimeter. So this is the block diagram. Okay, in this case xenon lamp, which is the radiation source, it will emit the UV light. Okay, that UV light will be collimating by this collimating lens, and this primary filter will absorb other visible light. Okay, and pass only the UV light which is through this second collimating lens through this entry shutter. This is the entry shutter. See, this is the entry shutter. So this is whole assembly. See this one, this will be the phosphorescope can. Okay, this will be continuously moving with the help of the motor. In between, this is the sample cell. Into this sample cell, or you can say sample holder, the sample solution will be kept, and the sample solution will be kept into the Dewar flask along with the liquid nitrogen. For what? To maintain the sample solution temperature below the room temperature. Okay, this is the main purpose of this Dewar flask and liquid nitrogen. And this whole phosphorescope can will be continuously moving with the help of the motor. Okay, so when light UV light reaches up to the sample cell, the sample molecule absorb that UV light. Okay, that UV light, after absorption, it will move, and this entry shutter will be closed and exit shutter will be open. Okay, so through this exit shutter, the emitted phosphorescent beam or light will be collimating through this collimating lens and reaches up to the secondary filter. Secondary filter will absorb the other main UV light may be present along with phosphorescent beam that will be absorbed here and only pass the phosphorescent beam or light which is coming or emitted by the sample solution through this collimating lens and reach into this PMT, that is photo multiplier tube, or you can say detector. Detector will be detect that phosphorescent beam or light and show the reading, or the it will read into the readout device. Okay, so this is the block diagram of the phosphorimeter. Hope you understood. In next lecture we will see in detail the phosphorescope can. Okay, so for today's lecture, thank you.